Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Seahawks possibly being interested in trading for Washington football team linebacker Ryan Anderson. And I'm also going to be talking about 3 trades that the Washington football team should try to make before the trade deadline. If you guys are new, subscribe for Washington and NFL content. So let's get right into the video. And remember, check out House of Hoodies. Use code Pedro for 15% off. They got insane jersey hoodies, including a Sean Taylor and Chase Young one. Okay, so first we'll start off with the Ryan Anderson trade news, and then we'll go on to 3 trades that I think the Washington football team should make. So yesterday, this was reported by Ian Rappaport and Jason Lockenfor, and pretty much what the report said was that the Seahawks and Washington have had trade talks regarding linebacker Ryan Anderson. Nothing seems imminent, but they're just talking. And something also that is interesting, I did do some research, and in 2017, in the draft, the Seahawks were actually very interested in drafting Ryan Anderson, but we ended up taking him. So that shows that there was some interest in him before, and that's possibly why they would be willing to give up a late round pick to go after Ryan Anderson. I think it's definitely a realistic possibility, but first let's look at his stats. So this year, he's played in every single game in 7 games, but he really hasn't contributed much. 7 total tackles, and that's it. Last year, he did a lot more actually. Had 40 total tackles, 4 sacks, 1 pass deflection, and he had 5 forced fumbles, which is insane. So he had a pretty good year last year. He didn't have an amazing year, but had a decent year. This year, he hasn't had much playing time, and I'm sure he would have a bigger impact if he was playing more, but he's not, and there's a reason he isn't playing more, and that's because we have Chase Young, Montez Sweat, and even Ryan Kerrigan ahead of him. So that's why I think it would make sense. Even if you're only getting a 7th round pick, it makes sense to trade him because you're not going to re-sign him this year after free agency because his contract is up. So there's no reason, unless you really think he's a huge piece to this defense, there's no reason to keep him for the rest of the season when you can possibly get a 6th or 7th round pick from him. And I know that isn't much, but we have drafted some pretty good players in the late rounds. Jimmy Moreland, Cameron Curl, Kelvin Harmon, Cole Holcomb was a 5th round pick. So if we can get a 7th or 6th round pick, I would personally do it. And I think this is the most realistic trade that is possibly going to happen for the Washington football team, whether it be us trading for a player or us trading a player. I think this is the most realistic trade, and I think there's a decent chance it happens. I don't see Ryan Kerrigan getting traded just because I think they value his leadership and his veteran presence, and he's still productive. They also, I highly doubt they trade Dwayne Haskins. They haven't gotten the value that they wanted in these trade packages, so I think they'll wait until the offseason to do something with Dwayne Haskins. We'll see what happens with that. But that is the Ryan Anderson update. There's a couple teams that have been interested. The Washington football team has been, receiving calls, and they've been openly trying to shop Ryan Anderson because, like I said, he isn't a valuable asset to them. He's not a key part to the defense. And, he's a 2nd round pick. He still has some potential, and maybe he could be better off with another team. And he probably wants it too because, he's in a contract year and he hasn't been getting a lot of playing time. So that's what I have to say about Ryan Anderson. So now on to 3 trades that I think the Washington football team should make at the trade deadline. And yeah, the first one is just trade Ryan Anderson, get as many, and this will be real quick so we can move on to the next one, but trading Ryan Anderson because we can get some draft capital and we can either keep that draft capital and use it for this year's draft, or you can use that draft capital and, use it to trade for someone else, for a veteran wide receiver or for a tight end, whatever you want, linebackers. So I think there is some, value in trading Ryan Anderson, and I think it would be a good idea. Honestly, anything we can get, I would do it. He just hasn't been a key part to this defense, and I'm sure, like I said, if he played more, he would be contributing more and his stats would be a lot better, but he just isn't, just because we have a very good defensive front. So the next trade I would personally do is try to go after a veteran receiver. And I think the most realistic option, and I know Ron Rivera said he doesn't want to, or he rather trade for a guy that has more than 1 year on his on his contract, but I would try to go after John Ross. And I know this is his last contract, but if we could trade him for a 7th round pick, I would personally do it. And he possibly could get released, and I would go after him. But either way, he's been inactive for a few games this year, and last year he had a decent year. And right here on the screen, he said he openly, publicly requested a trade right there, and I think he would be a solid deep threat to the team. I mean, our receivers just aren't healthy right now. Besides Terry, I mean, Isaiah Wright is out with an injury. We'll see if he comes back this week. AGG is out for an injury, and he's probably going to be out for a few more weeks. Steven Sims is still out with an injury. So I think going after a veteran wide receiver, whether it be Marvin Jones, John Ross, maybe Will Fuller, I think that's going to be too much. But someone you could get for a late round pick, I think a 7th or 6th round pick, or we don't have a 6th round pick this year, but maybe a future 6th round pick. I don't want to give up anything more than that, just because we still are a rebuilding team. Maybe I would give up a 5th round pick or a 4th round pick, but it would have to be for a player that's going to be here for more than just for this season. So that's the second player I would trade for, second trade that I would do. And the next one is another player who also requested a trade, and that is David Njoku. This player would probably be more expensive, but I think, you could possibly trade Ryan Anderson and a late round pick for David Njoku. David Njoku hasn't been very productive this year, but part of that is that, he hasn't been getting a lot of playing time. He's frustrated with that, but I think, he has some really good potential. You look at 2018 when he got a lot of playing time, when he had some good quarterback play. He had 639 yards, 4 touchdowns, so he is actually playing pretty good football, and I wouldn't mind giving up like a 7th and Ryan Anderson, or 5th possibly and Ryan Anderson. I think I would do a 5th and Ryan Anderson. That's basically like a 5th and a 6th. It really depends on what it's gonna take to get David Njoku, but I would really like to add him to the team because he's a good young player that has some good potential, and I think it would provide a big boost to the tight end position. And even I think he's better than Logan Thomas right now, and even if he isn't, he's by far, and it's not even close, our second best tight end. So that's why I would like to trade for him. And maybe if you're, trading with the Seahawks, you can get one of their tight ends. They got Greg Olsen, Jacob Hollister, so maybe you can get one of them. But that's what I would do. And here's some other info on the trade deadline. The Washington football team sending signals that it doesn't want to deal Haskins just yet, but that's more because the trade value that they're getting isn't that great. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this. Do you want to trade Ryan Anderson, and who else do you want to trade for? Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please smash the like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and turn on those post notifications so you never miss a video. And yeah, trade deadline tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern time. Peace.